In a widely praised documentary that attempts to explore the role of photography in the shaping the identity and aspirations of African Americans from slavery to the present, Through a Lens Darkly, Black Photographers and the Emergence of a People, is the work of filmmaker Thomas Allen Harris. We'll introduce him in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at the trailer.
There are secrets in every family. Sometimes they're buried deeply, and sometimes they're right out there in the open, willfully unseen. There is one place where all the secrets reside, in the family photo album, in what it chooses to represent, and in what is absent, hidden.
As a child at the age of 6, I realized that I am Black, and I didn't want to be Black.
Every day we're basically told you ain't it, you don't look right.
The cowards,
shiftless,
laziness,
stupid.
Seemingly never-ending barrage of negative representations wield a certain kind of political force, even though they are fictions.
How is the photograph used in the battle between two legacies, self-affirmation and negation? Our salvation as a people, as a culture, depends on salving the wounds of this war. A war of images within the American family album.
American family album. Well, as we just saw, Through a Lens Darkly places African American history within the context of images from the director's own family album. It premiered this past February on PBS's Independent Lens and is currently being screened in select cities, including Brooklyn. Now we get to welcome photographer and filmmaker Thomas Allen Harris to BK Live. Thank you for being here, sir.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Back in Brooklyn.
Yes. Getting deep in this documentary, I see. Let's talk about the connection between photos, perceptions, stereotypes, and realities.
Well, you know, with this film, the film actually started when Deborah Willis, who is a MacArthur Fellow, she did a book called Reflections in Black, which details a Black photographer's contribution to American photography. And she approached me 10 years ago about making this film. And as I was looking at these images, which are hidden from us, you know, of Black folks making their way out of slavery, building ourselves up and our communities up and the nation up, you know, stuff that we don't learn about in schools, we have them in the photographs and they're in our family albums as well. I was thinking, you know, we don't have these images, but they exist. What images are there? And the images that we normally see, like even when we see the uprisings and the protests to the shootings of unarmed African Americans, we see ourselves through this kind of stereotypical lens, you know, that we're the problem, that we're asking for something, as opposed to the values that we bring to the American culture. And we have them in our family albums.
So we're sitting here in 2015. We have a Black man in the White House. There are people of color who are running major news corporations. How has that informed photography in the sense of this sort of photojournalism and the images that are put out there? Do you see any change or any difference in those images till now?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have, like on my refrigerator, I have the First Family. It's amazing, you know, to have that. And I think that, you know, just having these cell phones, we can, like, you know, take selfies. We could say, this is who I am, this is where I was, you know, and put it on social media, which we could broadcast. So even if, you know, media is showing us is like, rioting, we could talk about what we're doing to build up our communities.
Truth of your experience.
Exactly, and it's so important for us to tell our stories, but it's also important for us to understand our connection to history, and that we are here because someone else came here before, and we have the images to tell our stories. And so, as a filmmaker, I'm really interested in empowering people to tell our stories, both in the course of the film, but also in our transmedia project, Digital Diaspora Family Reunion.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I come from a family of photographers, and so I figured that I knew I had all these amazing images in my family, and this is actually the 4th film I've done that explored my family archive. And so wherever I go with my films, people say, I want to do something creative with my family photographs, because if you don't use them, you lose them.
That's right.
So you have to know that they are there and they had some value. And so I created a project called Digital Diaspora Family Reunion, and initially it was just going to be an online project. But people saw the prototype and they said, well, we want to hire you to come and do a live version of this. So we've been touring with this. We've been in 18 cities. In Brooklyn 4 times. We've been at the Brooklyn Public Library with Digital Diaspora in 2009. And in fact, we're going to be meeting with Councilman Bob Cornegie tomorrow about taking Digital Diaspora across Brooklyn again, and in addition to the film. And so basically we have people come in and share their family photographic albums in front of a live audience. We blow them up to the size of cinema, and I help them create a narrative out of their images. Most people don't digitize stuff because it's overwhelming.
Right.
But if you have like a story, you can digitize 20, tell your story, and our stories show our humanity and connect us to other people, whether they look like us or not. And so it's really about one world, one family.
Well, you definitely inspired me, as I told you guys off camera. Now I started wondering, like, where are those pictures? Let me see who has those. And yes, as Brian said, I'm that relative that's stealing pictures. As soon as, she leaves, there's a couple little holes in the family album. Is that what you're looking to have people do? You want to inspire them to go back into their photographs and pull things together?
Yeah, and also digitize them.
Okay,
digitize them and spread them around. Because a fire, a flood, what happened in Katrina, all of a sudden all those images, there's no reason in the digital age when we can't have them on our cell phones and to be able to share with people, the story of our great uncle, a great aunt, or a great grandmother. And we're walking around with like 5,000 images on our cell phones. What are we doing with those images?
Wow.
So I really want people to use them in a very creative way.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb right now, a very sturdy limb. I'm seeing this in like MacArthur territory. Like we've had Dave Isay sitting in that seat, and what he did with StoryCorps and getting people to share their stories and archiving these things and being recognized. I totally see this for your photography and the projects and getting people to share their histories. So what do you think people can gain from getting these histories in the broader sense in that American album?
Well, we can see, we could be empowered, and we could see how the stories of how our ancestors overcome tremendous odds, and odds that we can't even imagine. So it gives us the power to say, okay, our schools may not be up to snuff, but maybe we could creatively figure out another way of educating our kids, especially with the family photographic albums, and to use Facebook and to use, Brooklyn Live, to empower ourselves. I'd love to bring Digital Diaspora here and do something with you guys, with your family photographs.
Cool would that be?
And so I think it's really important that that we understand our history and we're rooted in that. And that's something I don't necessarily see coming out of, let's say, like Baltimore or Ferguson, because I'm sure that if people went and the reporters went and looked in people's homes and looked through their family photographic albums, they would get a different story than just seeing ourselves through the eyes of, a police or a judge or whatever.
Or a biased camera person.
It's all true, and it doesn't all have to be pretty.
It doesn't.
It's just yours.
That's it. Thank you
so
so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. I'm inspired.